session with the Paintology drawing app available for Android users from Google. So we're going to create a drawing of clouds. As you know, the app you can get for Android users from Google. So I'm going to open this app and I already have the drawing, well, the reference image already available loaded on my phone here, as you can see, and I'm going to use my fingers. And this particular photo was taken while my friend and I were driving along the road, and I couldn't help noticing the bright clouds, the formation of the clouds above the road. So this is where I thought, well, this would be a great topic to do the clouds. If you remember, I did another session of the clouds that was in the sunset theme. So I've made a number of live sessions for sunset drawings using our finger as well. And today we're going to try and do something with this and again focus on block coloring and the using tones and under appreciating tones, right? So you can see here the tones are the dark and light colors, and this is where you're trying to convert that into your drawing by converting tones to your drawing. If you're lacking in depth in your drawing, it's mainly because you're not utilizing the tones as well as you could, and you need to first start off by observing the various tones around the reference image. So let's look at it and say, see where's the darkest tones. Well, naturally, the darkest tones. I'm gonna use a brush. Should we leave it at chalk? Leave it at chalk. You could use any other brush. Entirely up to you. And I'm gonna go for red. I'm gonna show you. Let's see if that's the right color. Okay, let's take it down a bit. Okay. So I've got 100% density and hardness. So where are the darkest tones? Well, right away, I hope you know it's the tree line here. Okay, there. That's the tree line. That's the darkest tones that you can possibly see. Right, and then where else are the tones? Well, if you look at it, this above this cloud is also the tones around here, yeah? And then here, and then here, and then here. I'm just quickly going over it. It's pointing out these tones, and you should see the same tones. If you're not looking at the image properly. If you can't see these tones, maybe you've got too used to looking at real world pictures, but when it comes to drawing, you need to decipher. See, I'm doing the clouds here right now, but you know the tones are here in the building structures. Right, there's a little bit of tones. Then if you go zoom in more and more, you can see more tones. Let's see what we have here. So we have more tones here, and ignore that. And then you can go on and establish all the various tones. You could even go negative and say, well, let's pick out the lightest tones of these clouds, isn't it? Right? These large looming clouds. You can see why this image sort of caught my eye. And these lampposts are also tones on the road. So what we have here, tones everywhere, but we know the darkest tones are here, okay? Dark tones are there, and those are the... So that's just like a reference for laying down the first pass, the first drawing pass. And right away, I can tell you why most people will give up drawing is because they don't allow themselves to learn and go beyond what they already know. And they're quick to dismiss that they can't go anymore. Perhaps out of not wanting to do it deep inside, or not even trying, or perhaps they want an excuse for not doing that. So you probably heard the excuse. It's the same applies to any kind of skill. If you're not developing a skill sufficiently, you need to rethink and take out any negative thoughts out of your head and just keep going, and keep your mind open. Okay, so we're at this brush size, and if you've done block coloring before, you'll know that I continuously pick up, no, this is a previous drawing on it, I continuously pick up colors. That's 10%, okay? Just leave it around that. And then I just basically use my brush and keep selecting the color picker, because don't get confused and think that you know that's just a plain green. It looks like a plain green, but believe me, when you get closer, there are differences. So I'm using my fingers, doing the darkest tone, and I'm going to show you the tones we've selected of this, what looks like dark green. Right, just keep going around and applying it, encapsulating those clouds. Just keep going around. I'm going to show you what it looks like after. See, I do every now and then select the color picker because I know it's not just a plain green. So what am I doing? I'm actually filling in the dark colors at the same time, selecting the right tones that within. And what do I mean by selecting the right tone? Well, color picker, select that region, and that's selecting the color that's beneath that reference in it, from my drawing, okay? And if you want to know how to do block coloring, easiest thing, if you can make tea, coffee, you can pretty much do this easy peasy. So that there, just following the tonal changes that's happening as I dab with my fingers, yeah. And now I'm going to show you what the colors green. Look at all these green colors. It may look like similar to you, but look at it. We picked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There may be some very similar, but look, can you see the hues and tones there? That's the tone of that. And then when we looked just normally, it looked like a massive green, but in reality, it is those different shades of tones. That's what gives it depth. If you think you haven't got depth in your picture because you're not looking at the tones, into this method of drawing in digital really increases your awareness of tones, your acute ability in detecting tones. And as you continue to do it, it improves. And I can tell you, it's vastly increased my leaps and bounds of my drawing ability. I don't have to draw continuously like anyone else, to be honest with you. I can have gaps of 2, 3 weeks, but I'm still good. And the reason I'm good is because this appreciation of tones has increased my knowledge of applying just the right tones for a drawing instead of just working my way around a tone, guessing what it is, and half guessing and not realizing this tone, because this tone, the tones I pick up are very acutely akin to the actual image, and I can see it. and therefore I can apply the right tools quickly and efficiently in order to make this drawing. So we're going to carry on, and as you can guess, we're going to develop the clouds, keep it above the halfway point, which means that we're making contact with the reference, when we select the tone. Again, let's increase the brush a little bit more. All right, just go over, and then notice what I'm doing. I know this tone is gradienting, gradually diminishing in the hue, in the tonal valley as we go up. And I'll show you how many tones we picked. So this is a really good exercise. And I can show you how many tones we have picked in order to just do that region of cloud, so you can see for yourself how tones give volume to the whole drawing. Just that region of cloud, yeah? Now let's look back. So we've just developed these tones on this color in this cloud formation, and look at the tones we've look at that. This one may look similar, but look, you can see the gradations in the blue tones that are happening just in that small region. So we're going to keep doing that. Make sure you're halfway so you can see the drawing you're making, and just keep going through that. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go through that, the blue tones, and then just keep it in sort of segments of blocks, so we manage to transfer, pick out the tones that's needed for this, to create the first drawing pass using my fingers. It's lovely using my fingers. I'm used to drawing with the stylus, but I decided to use my fingers instead. Well, for this demonstration, and you can see a lot of other drawings I've done with my fingers. So you've got no excuses to draw. You can't say you haven't got Procreate or something like that. Just the simple Paintology app available for Android at this time. So this is another mistake that our most beginners make. They think they have to follow the crowd. Just because there's a lot of users in a particular app doesn't necessarily mean that's the way to go, although it may be, but if you want to follow the masses, then yeah, but you're not really going to learn anything by following the masses. Why do you think the many artists you've seen are just a handful in your class or something? The really good ones. Why do you think that is? Because they don't follow the masses. They follow their own instincts when it comes to drawing or picking up any skill. They use their brains to decide for themselves. And remember, they know that a lot of students there are not skilled in anything, in any particular area. And so what do? They turn to the biggest library on the planet, the internet, the World Wide Web, and they get all their information and apply it and learn. And that's what it takes to learn. You need to drive yourself. And that's where the real pleasure comes from. And that's probably the reason why many make the erroneous judgment that they're no good at drawing. They want to wave their hands up in the air and blame someone else and not themselves. You decide how you want to go, and that will be the person you are. If you really are interested in learning a skill, you should check out Paintology, my Paintology blog site. I write a lot about people's skills and about how to acquire skills and the reason why some get it, some are good and some are not in acquiring the skills. It's a lot to do with your own personality, nothing to do with the craft itself or the skill you're trying to acquire, but a lot to do with, oops, the habit of pressing the wrong. So it's really a lot to do with you, and that's what I talk about, how to change your mindset so you become focused in becoming good at a particular skill. And remember, if your expectations is, it's a human nature to expect results right away, but if you keep practicing, you'll be surprised with how much progress you make in little short time. And now that we have digital, we can expand our understanding and knowledge. You won't believe the amount of knowledge we have in our fingertips. And it seems such a waste if you don't make use of it. If you're completely, on the social website, then always reading, listening, and whatever tickles your fancy, you join in the conversation. Why not just step out of it a little bit and do this? This is your time. Nobody takes you away from it. You create, you're creating something unique that nobody else has done. This is a unique drawing I'm doing, even though I'm looking at a reference image, but my fingers are doing all the work. And the way I apply my fingers makes this whole painting appear to my personality. And nobody can take that away. Nobody can say, well, just a simple copying, that's what you're doing. Okay, really? Yeah, and if I added a digital robot to it, maybe. But look, I'm using my hands. And that's the problem with a lot of people. They make the assumption that the computer is doing all the work, but not so, okay? Because there's a lot of tools that digital artists use, but me, I simply use one or two brushes and I paint just like I would enjoy painting in the traditional world. I have much more control. This is what I'm doing, using my fingers, and then we'll probably finish in good time. I hope you're following along to me as well, because this is a YouTube channel and it's owned by Google, so a lot of people will have Android phones, hopefully. But even again, YouTube is also used by Apple as well, of course, as you know. So just go over and see these different tones. There's a lighter tone that just appeared here. So I'm keeping my strokes small and then following that. So I'm following that and then come back to it here. Just following, and then when there is, when I see a shift in a tone quite large, I keep my strokes confined to that tonal region that I can see. Notice how I'm doing this. It's not random as such. I'm still paying attention. Look at this tone here. Here, that's changed. So I'm trying to replicate that turns. And now keep in mind your brush size is of a particular size, so that you could reduce the brush size and go more tiny. In fact, if you take the brush size to 0.5% and then follow the tones that way, of course it will take you forever, right? Isn't it? But you're basically going to replicate the whole drawing, and that would be hyperrealism. This is really the essence of what hyperrealism art is drawn like, because they use a reference image and then they go tiny spots at a time to make their drawings. That, to me, that method is not great. It has, of course, a wow factor when people look at it. I think when you go to Reddit, you'll see a lot of people who claim they've spent months on a particular drawing and then they receive a lot of likes and all that. But to me, it's not a showcasing your true art ability. I mean, it definitely shows that person has a lot of patience, but apart from that, me, I make in that similar time period. I mean, I can make hundreds of drawing. That to me is worth investing my time. So look how I'm following. Can you see the turn? The shift from the blue to the white. So we're going to stay confined to this tones here, and then we notice that the tones take a slight light shift, which we're following, right? And then try to follow what you see underneath, okay, within the reference image, while at the same time looking at your. All right, it's just really rapidly going through. It's quite therapeutic just doing this with your fingers. So all I'm doing is my fingers. Never has it been possible to make drawings on your phone like this, but now that we have technology, drawing like this becomes so much easier, and it's designed, technology should be designed to make our life easy, and it does in drawing. But you need to find ways that you can draw. I mean, if I were making this using other art tools, probably everyone will turn to tools. Keep selecting tools, make this, do this, wrap this, fill this, use this, blending. No, it's not. That to me, it just, okay, it keeps my mind alert, but to me, that's not drawing. I've enjoyed traditional art for a long time, and that enjoyment I brought to digital using this method of drawing. I don't hop to one tool after another, and you can see for yourself that's how I draw. All right, so there. Can you see there's a dark blue and then the light? So we're going to keep our tones, picking the color picker within that region, okay, and then going over it at the boundary, and then picking the color picker again to select these colors, the darker colors. So you can go rapidly as you want. It just behaves like a pen, doesn't it? Don't worry about how it looks. Just follow the tone variations. And then, of course, we're going to tidy it up, isn't it? Let's see if I've covered. Wow, how quickly I've covered that, isn't it? It's amazing, isn't it? How quickly I managed to cover that region. There's some parts that I need to do. This area. That's why this line helps to show the boundaries of the tones, right? So I can go really, so it's like a nice reference. And I can fill the white spots, picking the tones. It'll pick up the tones that are beneath that, nothing more. So let's see what we have. Yeah, that almost looks like a Van Gogh, isn't it? So although that's being very, I don't know, it's like comparing yourself is it's a difficult thing to do, but it's always nice to get inspired. All right, there, and then there. I think we've covered all the white regions. Great, look at that. So we've got a form of colors, but they're colors that, if you look at the, don't forget to save it. If you look at the original and then keep flicking back and forth between the original and your drawing, you should see that there's some combinations of your drawing that you can get close to and make it look more with more depth. So now I'm beginning to think, okay, what's the next bit to tackle? And here's the important point that some people miss out. And the important point is that since we've arrived at this juncture in drawing, we know what the next step is. So I talk about that in my recent blogs and posts. You'll see it, especially on the Quora platform where I talk about it under paintology.quora.com. And you'll see that I talk about drawing passes as a phase towards achieving your final goal. And drawing passes, which you haven't probably come across, it purely implies that you cannot go from one step to another without having completed the prior steps. What I mean is that this would be my second pass. You know, I did the greenery. So my second pass to the drawing. And the third pass would be the next step from this. And the only way I could get to the next step is having arrived at this step. And now I can see gaps to improve on my next step. And this is where you start honing in on skills to get to those steps, through those steps. You may be in step 0 to 1 and you'll be pretty content with what you've achieved so far. And you can say, wow, you know, I don't think I can go beyond that. But I know I can take this a lot further. And because I have acquired a set of skills, and you should go along this path of doing stepwise manner at driving the final goal, A to B, I call it. A is your blank canvas and B is your final drawing. So my B is still a lot further off than you guys might think. You might guys think that, oh, I think I don't need to do much more to do this or finish this, but there's a lot more work involved. For example, you know, I want to put these tiny details of the lampposts, the roofs of the houses, and then blend. I want to blend this clouds into it, okay? So how do we go about this? Well, I think we can probably tidy up the greenery that we have. So again, a halfway point, and this is where we get, so now it makes sense that we're going to have to reduce the brush size to get to the smaller details. Keep Density and hardness for 100%. Don't worry about that. I've reduced it by half. So now we have, look where I'm moving my cursor, because my green is masking some of the reference image. So I'm going to try and replicate. Look at the blue tones. You see? You see what I'm telling you about? I'm going to replicate. I'm going to just show you how I use a smaller brush to add those tiny details. Have you noticed most artists will move to smaller brush sizes as they get closer to their goal, isn't it? This is exactly the same thing. Right? I'm just trying to pick out the dark tones and just applying it to my canvas so you can see what it looks like. Okay? And the brush size is still, in my opinion, fairly big, but it can get the second pass done fairly quickly. Just tidy up those areas. And because you're picking the color tones within that region, you're naturally applying the exact colors of that region and mimicking the tones that are in that area. That's block coloring for you in its true essence. So we're still looking at the overall drawing and working at speed in order to make our more detailed, like these trees you see around. And then each time I'd use the color picker, look at the color picker, what it's picked out each time I use it. So the smaller brush really helps you to apply another dimensional tone at smaller details and therefore build up texture, more texture. So we're actually building up texture that you may not know as you're doing this, because the smaller details are not visible, are sort of rounded off as you zoom away from the image. So we're just going to go around. It's difficult to explain it, but you'll get it intuitively as you do it, and it's so much fun. Look how light this area is. So this, just keep using the block and replicating. So let's see where we are. See, now you can see that right away we've added dimension to the bushes. Before it looked choppy, but now you can say, yeah, you did actually manage to do that. And now we can go here, just fill those white regions and still getting the tonal value from the reference image. Yeah. Even the sky, we're going to head for the sky, and why not, right? Okay. So if you see the holes, so just fill it up with your color. Just fill it up with the colors that you already laid down. because they'll be pretty close to the tones. Look at that. It's giving its depth, right? Isn't it? Now you may think, oh, well, okay, I could do it to all the clouds around the edges, and maybe we should. So perhaps this is something unique that I have never done before. Now I'm seeing a distinct margin, distinct cloud region, which is really what is needed with the smaller brush, right? So let's see how the smaller brush operates, what size that is. Let's pick a white color. You've seen that? I think we can get away with doing the clouds. I'm talking about the perimeter of the cloud lining and really flesh it out. So you see it looks hazy. So I'm going to flesh it out by putting it to my size brush. And then look how big it is. Look at that. It's even bigger than I expected. So I'm going to reduce that even more. And then go around, because that's the area that we need to refine. So because we have got that, look at that dark banding, and then just go to your canvas. You can see it. See, you see that? That's what we need to tackle. And you see how your appreciation of tones and reference image increase because of that. So here, for example, let's zoom in. Right? See that? And then you can go like that, and then just pick the tones next to it, and you'll see what it looks like. Keep doing that around the perimeter. Something I haven't tried before, but I'm doing it now. Just trying to flesh out these tones, just replicating these tones. And the reason why that perimeter of those clouds look so distinct and obvious is because it has that dark banding around it. And so that's why we're going to put more emphasis in our drawing, right? So let me just do this, and then you can see for yourself if it works. If it doesn't, then we'll apply another method. This separates one artist from another. Is some artists will just throw their arms up in the air and give up, and some will just keep going. They will keep going until they've mastered it. And I belong to the other, as you can see. I'll just keep going and don't get frustrated. So let's just do that perimeter and watch the colors on your bottom right to see if the colors are taking on the right shape. And then because we're going to the heart of it, look, it's so hazy now, isn't it? Let's see what it looks like. Look at that. We've achieved some, compared to the other clouds at the bottom. Look how we've achieved the perimeter of that cloud. The perimeter is so much more better, right? So we'll just keep following that line as we've been doing. There's more whiter there. So as you get more closer and closer to the drawing, you'll see these subtle tonal differences that constitutes the reference image, and therefore something that you need to replicate in your drawing, right? So just keep at it, following the line. I'm not even, I can show you, you can flick between your drawing and see how it changes, and then pick the darker color and do it using your, move it to your bound blank canvas. Alright. But we've picked the dark colors because that's what we're trying to, and then we could go around. Right. Look, the same, it's the same tone. So I could just, so this makes sense that I could, look at that, so distinguished color. Right. So I'm actually using a combination. See that? So I'm using a combination of my drawing and looking at the reference and focusing my attention on this. Just go over there, see what it looks like. Just clean it up on the edges. This is where the random nature of you doing something helps. Alright, so there. And then let's see. Yeah, so look now to see what that perimeter looks. So much better, isn't it? So you can do the same here. Look at this. Now you can see there's another area while you're still in the same brush. You can follow this line. This is a sort of a more darker gray. You may not see it, but it's very dark gray. Did I put it 100%? Oh, I didn't have 100%. That's strange. Okay, that's why it was behaving. Okay, so here, do the same thing. So I'm just moving it to compare. There, look at that. Trying to replicate that. See that? Look at that one there. So here, I can go, and this color is that color here. Oops, there. But this is a little darker, isn't it, at the perimeter? So let's make it dark, isn't it? Keep it to the, then increase that. All right, so let's see what we have. This is how you learn. You're not going to learn anything if you don't practice, right? So we got that. Now, what we could do is we could, instead of going and try and replicating, let's try our own, keep to our side and try and see if we can do our own, use our own tools. This is where we can get creative. Let's put 7% and watch what I do. And I take it down to density and hardness. So I'm going to pick the dark color and just blend it. Now watch how I blend this region, watch. I'm going to take it down again a bit more, and then I pick the color picker. Remember, I'm on my drawing canvas. I'm just going to blend. Do you see? By doing a few dab strokes, I've actually blended it. All right, let's just keep going. And then if you think you need to tap more and more, increase that a little bit, and then just like that. And let's just go over it really quickly, and then use the light color even to go. And then just blend everything, because there is no sharp edges except for the white clouds, the bursting white clouds, right? Okay, I did that yesterday actually, another drawing, and you may find it on my YouTube channel. So just follow it. See how it takes on. Let's do that. Just okay, and then increase that if you need to. You'll notice that the dark colors need a little bit of a higher density settings. So look, I've got it 7%. Maybe I'm going to increase that a little bit. 8. So here, look how that sort of changes. Let's get that gray here. See that? How that gray is merged into that, and then the blue can get merged into that. The gray here gets merged. And then we could do the same here. That color, this color, merge it. Alright, let's have a look what it looks like. That's a bit better, isn't it? It looks like it's warmer. Let's tackle this area here. The blue. Let's take the blue. Let's sort of see if we can merge. And then if you feel you're not getting enough, take the dark blue and just move it here. Merge. Just merge. Now let's take that. Let's see what that looks like. It's a bit of a white. You could use your swirling strokes of your round circular strokes of your fingers. Okay. go here. Look at that. So we can get that and drag that. The grey. You can drag the grey and then take that down maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure, but let's take it. So you see how the blending, this is how you do blending. And then if it's too hard, take it down. And then if it gets too dark in the encroaching area, pick the adjacent color. Look at blending it, blend. This is how to draw the clouds. So the subject is about clouds. So I need to keep my attention to that. Okay. So find the setting that works for you. Keep experimenting with this. And then let's see what happens. Let's see what we're trying to create. So it's always a good idea to check that reference image while you're doing that, because you don't want to go completely tangential to what is in the original. Otherwise it could take on an abstract form, but it may not be what you're looking for. Let's pick that and then take that into that. Yeah, look at that. That's like a cloud effect, isn't it? And then here, take that, soften the edges. Look at that, softens, beautifully softens. Use your fingers. Yeah, look at that. Let's see what it looks like. An improvement, isn't it? I have to say. So we just keep going through that, and then I'll stay tuned with that. But I would probably want to close off somewhere, and so you can work on it and see the final result. I'm gonna keep at it. It's really nice, lovely working here, and then take that color and then just sandwich it in between here. Yeah. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually, it's going to take a little bit of time, not too much time, to get that form. Can you see how the top we've tackled is now, sorry, let's take it out. The top is tackled and it's going to coming down to the lower region, and then we're going to keep doing the different passes until we get it right. If you feel that you need to adjust these settings here, if you feel that you're not getting anywhere, that's because just adjust the settings. Apply it to the method you're doing. Experiment. I'm sorry to tell you, if you don't experiment, you're going to hit a brick wall, and that brick wall, you're just waiting for an answer. You're like saying, here's this pen, it will resolve everything. It's not like that. The reason why you can push the boundaries of what you're using is because you can experiment. So like I've shown you, I've never made a drawing like this, but I'm also experimenting as I'm showing it to you, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work my way from the top to the bottom, and I feel you could do the same. Take this drawing, bring it to here, and work your way, and then I will continue to work on this, and hopefully I will continue to work on it, and then I'll show you the final result. All right, so thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.